All right, I think we'll begin our international food session, which last year was such a huge hit, and in previous years it's been amazing as well when we've been on campus. So um, I hope you all just kind of sit back and enjoy and ask questions. We have three different faculty showcasing different foods. And with us to start is Paolo Daniele. He is the um, assistant director for student services in the College of Journalism and Communication. But he's from Italy and he loves to cook and is going to teach us some language, talk about his culture, and show us some interesting famous foods from his country. So, Paolo, welcome to Sail. You cook away.
Thank you, Lara, and salve a tutti. Hey, everybody, or as we say, buongiorno. Come on, repeat after me. Buongiorno.
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 Good.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Perfect, perfect. I hear that you actually studied Italian this morning. Is that right? That's good because there is a test after this. So it's perfect timing. Perfect time. I'm just kidding. No test today. No test this summer. You don't have to work so hard this summer, right? The fun comes this fall. So as Lara mentioned, I am the Assistant Director of Student Services at the School of Journalism and Communication, and that's the school behind me, but I'm not there right now, obviously. But if you ever become an advertising major, a media studies major, a public relations, or you're interested in journalism, writing, podcasting, videography, reporting, I will be your man when you come to the UVO to get you started. So as Lara introduced, I am originally from Italy, and I moved to the US when I was just about your age. And I absolutely loved it. I loved coming to the US. I loved everything about the US. I loved the big roads. I loved the big burgers. I loved the big steaks. I loved the sushi. I loved the ladies. I loved the palm trees. You know, mind you, I moved to Los Angeles. That's why. I love Disneyland. I love the incredible weather. But most of all, I love the green, il verde, the green, verde. So much verde around Los Angeles, around California, around Oregon, right? I was so impressed by how much green there was everywhere. There were parks and trees everywhere. I mean, there was green even between the road and the sidewalk, you know, that little strip, the little patch of useless grass in the suburbs, right? That sort of green is unthinkable in Europe because as if any of you have been to Europe or maybe you've seen in pictures, space is quite a premium. Everything is follows medieval architecture, is very tight. And you know, I often resorted to playing ball in the streets or on bare earth. Man, I seriously would play even in this little patch of green in the suburbs, right? But as I grew older, I've definitely come to miss my country. And especially since it's so expensive to fly back from Oregon to Italy, I can't go back that often. And, you know, working in the US makes it so hard to take long vacations as they do in Italy. I'm telling you, don't believe the hype. Socialism is good for long vacations. So, you know, being so far out of reach you know, makes me miss that. Makes me miss my country and all of its diversity very much. Let me show you a little bit a fun map of my country. Just a second. I have to figure this out. We do have PowerPoint in Italy. Just to dispel any. Here we go. There we go. Oh, I'm round down here. Hello. Okay, can you all see the thumbs up if you can see the beautiful map of Italy? Okay, very good. So Italian diversity is what I would like to talk a little about today. So you see there's different things around the country. Many people think that Italians are a very homogeneous country. They are one kind of people. They all look alike. They don't look like Mario from the Nintendo game, no, but kind of. They all speak Italian. They all have one identity. And indeed, that is arguably true, relatively speaking, when considering Italian natives versus the rest of the Europeans or rest of South Americans or Africans or Asians, but most especially When it comes to rooting for the national soccer team, which we are champions of Europe, by the way, if you have not heard, we're the top of the European world. But of course, we are also very Italian when we speak the Italian language. There is one standard Italian language, which I'm sure you've learned some words earlier today, and that's the language that everyone learns. But did you know that most Italians speak 34 other languages? Did you know that there are huge differences in culture, music, and cuisine up and down the peninsula? That is literally the size, maybe like it's double the size of Oregon, I think. So it's very small, and yet it has incredible diversity of language, of food, of history. So I'm going to explain to you why and in its context in the food world. So join me in this little 2-minute Italian history journey, and I promise it's not going to be too boring. Okay, I hope. We'll see. Okay, now many of you are familiar with the Roman Empire, right? You've probably heard of it. It came out of Rome, took over most of Europe through force or friendships, and then after 1,000 years, it more or less collapsed after government restructuring, wars, diseases, and either friendly or forced resettlements of people from the east that we used to call barbarians, right? Well, in the year 1000, this is what you see in the map here, Italy was just the name of the land. It was not a country, okay? It was actually a patchwork of very different countries. You see the Arabs also owned part of Italy in the south. You see the Emirate of Sicily on the very south there, as well as the Roman Empire of the east, now called Byzantine, which was run out of Turkey and Greece. Now, let's see, 300 years later, what's going on? Wow, this is just a picture of northern Italy. 300 years later, it's even worse. Pretty much every city, it's its own country. It's a state. They war with each other, they deal with each other, they love each other, they hate each other. It's a total mess. There's no such thing as Italy. It's just a bunch of different little tiny countries. Let's see, 200 years later, it does not get any better. You got the Spanish now. You got the Spanish. They owned all of southern Italy. And with Spanish, of course, comes the rest of the world, right? They conquered a lot of places around the world through colonialism. So they brought a lot of products from America, from Asia, from all different places, and they brought them and mixed them together, and they even brought them to Italy. They brought tomato, right, to Italy, to Europe, and then to Italy. And here we're talking about centuries of occupation here, right? So this is practically Spain, not Italy like we imagine it now. In 1700, 200 years later, again, not much has really changed, except now the big overlords are the Austrians and Germans on the north. You see them up there, Habsburg Empire. Then you got the French all the way over there with Napoleon. They are just invading Italy. They love Italy's a great place to invade, apparently. I wasn't there, but I hear it was a great place to invade if you're a French or if you're a German. Okay, fun place, fun place. Okay, all of this to tell you that this really dramatic confluence and ever mixing pot of cultures and languages and rivalries and peoples is what results in a huge diversity among the Italians, which lucky for us also means a huge diversity of foods. And this is really a fun map that I stole from Google. I full disclosure, but I couldn't resist. Look at this. Basically, every region of Italy is described as the shape of a specific foods that is typical of that area. And you notice the colors change, right? The northern you go, the more yellow it gets, and then southern you go, the more colorful and redder it gets, right? Now on with the story. So while the US, well, you all represent the US now. So now you are the Americans. While you were celebrating your first 4th of July, maybe a few 4th of Julys already, we were still not a country. We were still super divided. It took a lot of war, a lot of politics to unite Italy, and it all started from the northwest. You see where it says there, Regno di Sardegna. Regno means kingdom. This kingdom up there was kind of like a French and Sardinia and Piemonte, the kingdom of northwest Italy. They unified Italy and they changed the name to Kingdom of let me talk to you a little bit about where Italy started, which is parallel. Okay, so coincidence? I don't know. There's no such thing as coincidence. Some people say maybe it was all meant to be. Piemonte and Oregon, one people. I'm just kidding. Now, let me show you something cool that I really had fun doing. Voila. I had a lot of fun doing this collage, as you can see. But to give you a look at what's there in Piemonte, you have culture, you have history, you have amazing architecture, you have fashion, elegance, you have Cristiano Ronaldo, which is a player for Juventus, the biggest team in Torino. You got wine, you have Fiat, the Fiat cars, which now owns a whole lot of cars you probably didn't know are owned by an Italian company. And the T for Fiat stands for Torino, the big city of Piemonte. I also put a picture of, probably you're all familiar with Kabilame. You know him from TikTok. He's probably he's probably the biggest influencer of TikTok ever. And he's actually based out of Piemonte, in a small city there in the outskirts of my own town, which is kind of a big coincidence. Now, be prepared. The next slide is complete food porn. So hide your parents, tell them to hide, because this is going to get dirty. Voila, look at that. Huh? So clearly I had a lot of fun doing this collage of typical foods from Piemonte. Now, can anyone guess what primary color is kind of missing in most of these photos? And it's not blue. What color is kind of missing here? I kind of hinted that during my history of Italy before. Can you want to say it? Someone said green. And any other color? You're right. There's actually two colors that are probably missing. Red. Yes, Danya, thank you. Angel, thank you. That's right. Red and green are the colors that are mostly missing from these, okay? The red, the tomato, of course, that's right. It's another example of regional differences, right? The tomato came from the Spanish who took it from America, right? So it's most in Spanish-owned southern Italy. So red, the tomato, is most famous in southern Italy. It's more popular in the southern regions. The green like for pesto, that's mostly for the coastal regions where basil grows really well, right? Now in the north, we have a lot of cows. We have a lot of Alps. We have the Alps, we have the mountains, we have cows, we have milk. So we like our cheeses, we like our hams, we like our butter, we like our meats. Okay, so this is what a lot of the foods look like. Obviously, we like a lot of chocolate as well. But today, I wanted to focus on this little humble dish right on top of me, where there's a little carrot and a little veggie sticking out of that. That is called Bagna Cauda. Can you repeat that after me? Bagna Cauda.
Bagna Cauda.
Cauda. Bagna Cauda. That's right. Now, this is a dish that, here, let me show you a picture. Voila, this looks really nice. This is a dish that honestly, it's not very famous. And I'm surprised because this is one of the easiest and yet the most gourmet dish that you could ever make. And I'm going to demonstrate that for you today. And one of the neatest thing of this dish is that it's made of very elemental, very basic ingredients, which means that you will never go wrong with whatever amount that you use. If you Google this dish online, if you Google the recipe, you will see that every recipe is different from one another. And that's honestly because you can pretty much play with it. We can play with ingredients, put as much as you want, as little as you want, and it will always come out savory and delicious. And someone mentioned, yes, is that a candle under that? Yes. In fact, some people call it the Italian fondue, right? But obviously this is not Italian, it's from Piemonte. And it's not fondue because there's absolutely no cheese in it. And I'll show you why. But it is a dish where you dip, that you share and that you dip. So these are the main ingredients, and this is the recipe. If you want, you can, let me get out of the way. Let me make myself really small. Hi, hello. So if you want, you can take a screenshot of this. This is gonna come in handy. You see the ingredients. Okay, I put ingredients for 3 people here. Garlic is the main actor here, and the second actor is anchovies. Anchovies, that's right. Some of you are like, "Ugh, anchovies?" No, anchovies are awesome, and I'll explain to you why. Then you olive oil, of course, and then milk of any kind. That's it. That's really all you need. And then, of course, you need something to cook the stuff in. So a pot, maybe 2 pots. Maybe you need a fork, and that's it. And then everything else is kind of like a fondue. If you ever had a fondue before, all you need is stuff to dip into this Bagna Cauda. And Bagna, as if you know Spanish, Bagna kind of reminds you of wet, right? And in fact, this means Cauda means it comes from caldo, means hot. So this is basically a hot bath. And this is basically a hot bath where you're gonna dip your veggies, you're gonna relax your veggies in a hot bath, and once they're nice and relaxed, you're gonna eat them and you're gonna enjoy them. Poor veggies. No, I'm just kidding. Veggies are fulfilling their purpose and they'll be happy to be eaten by strong young people like all of you. Okay. So, as I mentioned, this is pretty easy. It's also quite salty and healthy at the same time because, as you can see, you get to eat a lot of veggies. Okay. And it's really perfect for the long autumn and winter months that are coming up. So, if you look at the ingredients, you're wondering anchovies, a fish, and olive oil. You're wondering, there's no beaches or anything like that. Well, this is how it worked. Legend says that let's see, what did the legend say? Oh yeah, in around the 1500s, salt was a very precious commodity. It was as precious as gold. So in order to fool the tax collectors, the salt traders would hide the salt at the bottom of barrels, and on top they would put all these little fish that didn't taste like anything. These fish was anchovies. By themselves, they don't taste like anything really. But because they were sitting in barrels of salt, they would slowly get all salted up and they'll get all flavorful. And since this was cheap fish, the traders would then pass it through the tax collectors. They would not pay any taxes. And then they would just toss the fish away to the workers, to all the people who were working the grapes, who were doing wine, who were producing wine, right? And the grape harvesters would then use all of these anchovies and they would make a feast to like celebrate the end of the harvest. And so this essentially is a party food. So when you think of college as a party, Bagna Cauda is a party of a college party essentially for the people of the 1500s to this day. This is a very popular dish. It's very hard to find. I found it in one single place up in Portland, and it was way overpriced. But if you look at the ingredients, garlic is for this recipe. I used probably 2 or 3 tins, and it comes already with olive oil in it, so it's pretty convenient. Olive oil is also pretty cheap, and milk. Milk. You probably many of you probably have milk in your household already, so uh, this is really cheap thing to do, and it's very convenient and easy. So the first thing you want to do is to prepare the garlic. Okay, so you have the little garlic here. Oops, little garlic here. Now, garlic is are milk alternatives okay? Someone's asking. The answer is yes. Milk alternatives are totally okay to cook garlic in. The reason why we're using milk or milk alternative to garlic is to basically remove the sting. If you have used garlic from scratch, basically not from the powder, but from the actual garlic, you know that when you open it up, it smells. And it's not very nice to smell, right? It's pretty harsh. When you taste it, and you eat it, it is strong, and if you if you want to keep your friends, if you want to keep your friendships intact, if you want to keep your girlfriend or boyfriend from running away, you want to make sure that this garlic is treated in a way that it doesn't sting, that it just keeps the flavor, but not the sting or the smell. And so this is what you do. You simply put these garlic in milk, and you just bring the milk to a boil, and that's it. All it does is after a while, the milk will boil, the garlic will become softer and softer. You'll notice that the garlic will lose the green part in the middle, which is usually bitter. And once you use your fork, you just poke it. If it's nice and soft and the fork goes through, you know it's ready. And you'll notice that the milk will actually stink, but the garlic itself will actually be nice and soft and tame. And especially to still be flavorful without all the smell that you don't want. This takes about 20 minutes, okay? Now, once that's done, or at the same time, you want to work on your anchovies. So if you have another pot, a small one, kind of like something as small as this. Zoom, here we go. Very small, a sauce. This is where all the magic is going to happen. You can cook your garlic here, and then after this, you're gonna cook your anchovies, okay? So if you're looking at the recipe on the slide, right now we are in step number 5. Oh, sorry, step number 4. Step number 4. Here we are putting your olive oil. You're putting your olive oil in a little pot, and we heat it up, but you don't want to make it too hot. We're not frying anything here. Frying is the job of the Southerners. The Northerners, we do not fry. We like to boil, to bake, that type of stuff. Okay, you drop once you think that the oil is warm. You drop the anchovies in there. How warm? It doesn't matter. If you feel like there's a little bit of heat, yeah, it's okay. It's warm enough. You just drop the anchovies in there. If you want, you can wash the anchovies beforehand, and by wash I mean simply just put them in a strainer, run some cold water, and your anchovies are clean. And this is what probably where the anchovies gets a lot of bad rap here in the US. A lot of people just get anchovies straight out of the can or straight out of a jar of salt, and then they use it. That's pretty rough. Sometimes there's a lot of grit in there. Sometimes there may be little bones. Sometimes there may be little pieces of salt. So by cleaning them, you're making the fillet of fish very smooth, flavoring, very how do you say? I don't know. It's very refined essentially. It will be very gently salted and just perfect for this recipe. It's going to be very clean as a flavor. What you're gonna do then is put them on a pot, and then just warm it up. And then you'll notice after even just a few minutes, everything is gonna melt. It's just gonna be mellow. It's gonna be a mellow melt. And the anchovies are gonna be easily broken up. They will break up by themselves, or you just use a fork and you just poke them around, just smush them up, kind of like when you smush a banana, and you'll see that everything will become a sauce already. After about 20 minutes, you then drop those pieces of garlic that you boiled in milk, and you'll see again, you're right there. You're gonna let them simmer. You're gonna let them melt, and they're gonna get softer and softer. You'll see it won't take that long. It's only 20 minutes here, okay? And you'll notice everything will become really soft, will become very mellow. And all you need is a fork. You don't need a blender. You need just a fork. You're just gonna start poking things. You're gonna start mixing things. Nothing is frying. Everything is still just a little bubbly, and you'll come up with a nice little sauce. And I took pictures of the garlic as it come out right after the milk. And here's an example. So I dropped. Okay, I kind of exaggerated because I was cooking for my family, so I put a lot of anchovies for this recipe. And sorry, I was planning to do it live, but let's just say I had a few issues with my kitchen. I'm not gonna get into that. You'll notice the anchovies will melt, and then you'll see on the very right on top of me, the anchovies are full melted. Then I dropped the garlic here in the middle. Then on the left side, you see the garlic already slowly broke down. I used a fork. And then you'll notice on the very right side, I added a nice chunk of butter. Why did I do that? Well, you add butter to things, to sauces, to make them creamier. I like my sauce creamier. If you want, you can add milk or milk substitute to make it less thick or less intense. If you want to taste it even sharper, then you add salt. Honestly, you can just play with it. You can add spices as much as you want, but this is really it. This is all you need. Someone is asking salted butter or no salted butter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. I would prefer unsalted because this dish is already pretty salty on its own. So if you add salted butter, that's fine. Just not don't add too much of it, I would say. Okay. Uh, there's a few questions in there. I hope. Uh, let's see. More butter makes it creamier. Yes, it does. It definitely does. More garlic, more creamier. Of course, it gets not as healthy as it should be, but that's okay. We're not here to be healthy, right? We're here to really have a delicious dish. Lots of questions about plant-based options. Yeah. Let's see here. Kind of have to go all the way back. Is garlic very expensive for fresh? I would say garlic is not expensive at all. And I buy the organic one too, which is supposed to be more expensive, but it's not. I'm get mine at Walmart too, which is pretty cheap too. So absolutely go for it. Okay, now once everything is all mixed up, all you need to do is you'll see here, this is what it ends up with. It does not look very pretty, right? By its own, it looks like a brown mess, but that's okay. It's delicious because what you're gonna do is then pair, the color comes from the veggies that you're gonna eat it with, right? So I mentioned in the recipe, I'm gonna bring it up. Oh, I didn't actually list all the veggies that you can put, but honestly, any veggie will be good here. Um, we're talking about celery, broccoli, bell peppers, uh, uh, even cabbage. Cabbage is very popular, endives. If you have Brussels sprouts or cauliflower is great. I like to boil potatoes and onions, which by themselves, they taste like nothing. But in this sauce, they taste incredible. And of course, bread. If you have any kind of bread, whether it's sourdough bread, French bread. Oh, did I say French? No, I mean Italian bread. Um, uh, these are obviously great to dip in. So this is a dipping sauce. In the original picture you saw there, there was a oh, here we go. This is where a picture of like sharing dish. Um, so in this recipe, you'll notice that there are different ways, again, to play with it. So obviously, just go ahead and play with it. This is called Bagna Cauda. It's really good on its own for dipping, but you can also use it for pasta sauce, okay, or for your midnight munchies. It's really good if you want something really savory. This is really does the magic. Of course, you go to sleep a little thirsty, but that's okay. You're sleeping anyway. All right. I think that concludes my presentation on Bagna Cauda. And as we say at the end of each meal, at the beginning of each meal, we say buon appetito. Can you repeat after me? Buon appetito.
Bon
Bon
appetit.
appetito.
Bon
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, that made us all really hungry, I think. That was awesome. I love the history in there as well. Paulo, thank you.
My pleasure.
Are there any questions for Paolo before we have another guest who will be coming up next? Any other garlicky questions? There was a lot of garlic chat. I loved it. I loved all the chat.
Can this be like a snack instead of like a meal?
It definitely is. Yeah. I actually use it for snacks when I have leftovers. So it's really good just to put it on top of a bread or on top of veggie and just bite it real quick. Honey,
I
looks
have a
like you have your.
question. How storable is it? How long does it last?
I would say it can last about. It depends on what you put in it. If you add like milk, I would say consume it within like 3 to 4 days. I would say tops. But if it's just the garlic and salt, it can last probably a week or more because it's pretty much salted, so it will last a little longer than most foods.
All right. Thank you.
Honey, you had a question? You raise your hand. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
I was wondering, like, is it common to have a vegetarian or plant-based diet in different places in Italy?
Yeah, to be quite frank, no, but it's definitely becoming more common as people are being a little bit more aware of the dietary restrictions, and of course, for health reasons. Italians are not known for eating healthy, and so I think for that reason, I think it's becoming definitely a lot more common now than when I was growing up there. Carson, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm absolutely obsessed with Florence and just its history and everything. I'm gonna take a trip there someday. I don't know when that's gonna be, but when I go there, do you have any foods that are like classic Florentine meals that you kind of need to have while you're there?
Yeah, absolutely. There is this soup that's very famous called ribollita, which means boiled again, which is basically a bean soup, but it's very, very, very hearty. And it's, I don't know, it's super delicious. Maybe because they put a lot of salt. Italians love salt, but that's famous in Florence. A big dish that's famous there is the Florentine steak, which is basically a giant T-bone steak. Sorry, vegetarians, but that's really popular there.
Cool, thank you.
We have a couple more minutes, right, Lara?
We have 2 more minutes. So if there's any more
All right.
questions.
Okay, we have a question from Ethan.
I just wanted to know if this is better eaten hot or cold. Like, which one would you personally?
Yeah, I think it's better eaten hot. So warm it up. Yeah, if you need to warm it up again, it's best to do it on a stove, but microwave works just as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. I think I noticed one more question. Someone else had a hand up. Does anyone, one last question? I have time for one last question.
If you paired it with like other things other than like vegetables, would you pair it with any like kind of like cracker based or any like things like that?
Yes, honestly, anything is good in there. My grandma used to put meats there too. She used to put even she used to cook an egg in it while the oil was boiling. Believe it or not, kind of like a poached egg in poached in oil. But yeah, we used to cook that in there. But really, any veggies is fine. Just because, and the reason is because this sauce is quite overpowering. And then everything else, all your veggies are totally unseasoned, right? So honestly, we'll pair with anything.
Well, everyone, it was a treat to have Paolo with us. Please say a round of applause and thank you. And Paolo, we'll be talking to you soon. So appreciated.
Thank you, and looking forward to Harinder, who's next.